In our last video, we understood what Turbo Extract Datamapper is. There is one point which I missed to explain in the last video, and that is about the field level security check and the significance of it. So if you go to the option section, so here in the option section, we have a checkbox called check field level security. If we check this box, then Datamapper will respect the user's field level security, which means when this box is unchecked, then although if the user does not have read access to a field, and if the same field is queried in the extract fields, so in the extract fields, if we are querying the field, let's say subject, and the user does not have access to that field, but since this checkbox is unchecked, the Datamapper will retrieve the value. Whereas if this checkbox is checked and the logged in user does not have access to the field, then Datamapper will not return the value for the field. We will not see any error as such, like user does not have field permissions. Rather, the value for the field will be stripped from the results. So which means that if he has access to other fields, then he will see the result for those fields. But a particular field for which he does not have read access, that value will not be shown to the user. So let's understand this with an example. So here in my other org, we have already seen this module, the patient management module. At the last screen, we were showing all the cases of the patient. So currently I'm logged in with this user who's actually a system admin and does have access to all the fields. So we will see the behavior for this particular user. And then I have one more profile, standard user, and I'm logged in with one user having this profile. But to this profile, if I go, then subject field does not have read access. So we will see the behavior for the user with this profile also. So first let's see the behavior for the user which does have access to the fields. We have already seen it, but let's see it one more time. We will see that for this account, when user goes to the last screen, he does see the case number as well as subject value because this user does have access to the subject field. Now let's run this with a user who does not have access to the subject field. So here in this org, I'm logged in with the test user, and this user has a profile which does not have access to the subject field. So again, let's go to the same account and I'll select the same account. Next. So we see all the other information is shown, and on the final screen, he does have access to the case number field. That's why the result for case number is shown, but subject, since he does not have read access, that's why the value is not shown. So the value was never returned by the Datamapper. That's why it's showing as blank. So which means that the value is stripped from the results. So I hope we understand what this checkbox does. In Apex class also, while making a SOQL query, the strip inaccessible method does the same thing. So if you use the strip inaccessible method, then it will remove the values for the field for which user does not have read access. So we can relate this checkbox with the strip inaccessible method in the Apex class. Now let's proceed to our next example where I want to build a Datamapper Turbo Extract which will retrieve the contacts data along with the data from the parent records. As we had understood, Turbo Extract can retrieve the values from the parent as well as grandparents record, but it cannot be used to retrieve the values from child record. So let's create a simple Datamapper Turbo Extract which will retrieve contact fields as well as account fields data. So for that, let's go back to our DataRaptors. And now let's create another Datamapper Turbo Extract. So here I'm going to give it the name as Datamapper Turbo Extract get contact parents data. And here again the interface type will be Turbo Extract. The input that will be passed to this DataRaptor will be of type JSON, and output is also going to be JSON. So you can give the description here, and let's click on save. So we can see that a new DataRaptor is created. Again, I will be using the word DataRaptor or Datamapper interchangeably, but both means the same thing. Here we want to retrieve the contact record. So the base object will be contact. So let's select contact and we will select all the contacts. So to this DataRaptor, we will be passing an input JSON which will contain an account ID. So we would like to retrieve the contacts for that account ID, and we will retrieve few fields from the contact object as well as fields from the parent account object. So let's add the filter condition as account ID is equal to ECID. Again, where is this ECID? This ECID will be present in the input JSON that will be passed to this DataRaptor. Who's going to pass that input JSON depends on whoever is invoking this data mapper, and that is something we will learn when we are discussing the other OmniStudio topics. So here I again selected the contact object, and I'm saying that whatever the contact it is going to return will be stored in the list of contacts, and the filter condition is account ID equal to ECID. So let's retrieve few fields. Let's say first name. So I want to retrieve the first name of this contact, last name of this contact, right? So these are the fields from the contact object. Now how do I retrieve the parent data? So for that, you see the option here, related objects. When you click on this, it will start showing you all the parent object of the contact. So that is account. Because this contact has lookup to account, so we are seeing that. This contact object also has a lookup of created by, which is nothing but a lookup to the user record. Similarly, last modified by ID and all. So these are all the parent records on the contact object. So let's click on contact.account. The moment you do that, you will see that all the fields here has changed. Now these are the fields from the account object. Okay, so for now, let's just add account name. I can retrieve account name. I can also retrieve annual revenue, let's say. Right now, these are the values that are coming from the parent record. So first name and last name is the contact data, and account annual revenue and name is the parent data. One more thing, when you click on the related object now you will see that the relationship it is showing is the grandparent to contact. So we have contact, we have contact account, and now all the lookup on the account object is also showing. So account has a lookup to created by, which is nothing but the user. Again, it has lookup to the parent account or personal individual or the record type. Now, so from the contact object, we can also reach account, as well as all the parent record to the account also can be accessed. But for now, I think these fields are enough. So again, to summarize it, I'm selecting a contact object or the base object, and here we have a filter condition to retrieve the contacts where account ID matches with the account ID passed to this DataRaptor, and then we are retrieving the fields from the contact object as well as the parent account object. Now again, in the option it remains same. So we understood what is this check field level security. So let's go to the preview, and here I will pass the input map. So here let's add a input. So the input is going to be the ECID. ECID needs to be passed here. So let's search for an account. Let's just see this account has how many contacts. So it has 4 contacts. So let's just use this, and I'll pass it here. Again, this is the input JSON that will be passed to this DataRaptor. Whoever is going to invoke it should pass this input JSON, and it will look something like this. So this JSON will have a ECID, and this is the ECID that we are using in the filter condition. So let's click on the preview, and here we are seeing that all the contacts are stored in the list of contacts. Again, that is what we have mentioned here. Whatever the contact, even if it is one contact or like hundreds of contact, everything should be stored in the parent node called list of contacts. So that is why we are seeing that all the contacts are stored here. How many contacts will be there? 4. So we can see here on the right side, we have 4 contacts. All are stored in the list of contacts. And then we are seeing the contact fields like last name, first name, ID and account ID. And then we are seeing the parent data. So here we have a child JSON within the main JSON. So this is the JSON for first record. Within the JSON, we have a child JSON called account, which is the parent account, and in that we have the fields that we selected, which is name and annual revenue. ID is always selected, even though I did not mention the ID, it's always selected. You can also see that for contacts, ID is always selected. Similarly, the account ID is shown here. Similarly, we have the second contact record, third contact record, and the fourth contact record. And on the right side, if you see, we can see the final query that it has built. So it is selecting ID, first name, account.annual revenue. So those from the Apex background or who know how to write a SOQL query to retrieve parent fields, it is always written like this: account, because it's a standard relationship, so we don't see __r, But if you had a custom relationship or a custom object as a lookup to the contact, then it would have been that object underscore underscore R and the parent field name. So here we are retrieving the annual revenue and name from the account object, and then we have last name from contact where account ID in this and limit is 50,000. So we got the 4 records. So this is how we can retrieve the parent data in the data mapper. It's very simple. So it's very simple. We just need to go to the related object and we can look for the parent object. So the contact has lookup to these objects, account, created by, and all. And when you select one of them, then you will also see that all the parent object of that particular object is also now shown. So account has these parent objects. We can go to that also. Similarly, now I am at the account parent. If you go to the account object, there is a parent field which is nothing but a parent account record. Then again on that account we have these many lookup. So this is how you can go from one level to second level to third level and so on.